Hey guys, so in this video I want to talk about the real reason that Epic decided to vault the pump shotgun. If you haven't played season 9 yet, or you live under a rock, the pump shotgun was vaulted. Yes, the pump shotgun, probably the best and most iconic gun in all of Fortnite, was vaulted and replaced by a pea shooter. Why, you may ask? Well, that's a great question. Epic's reasoning for it was in a blog post that they named Drum Guns, LTMs as tournaments, and disconnecting duos. A lot of you guys probably haven't heard of the blog post or read it yourselves, but you may have heard people talking about what Epic actually said in it. What we care about in the post is all the way at the bottom under the Season 9 subheading. Directly from Epic, they write, "We want the beginning of each season to feel fresh and allow for a new gameplay experience along with all the new seasonal content. Whether it's new cross-map mobility, new weapons, or just new places to drop, you should feel like there's plenty to explore and experience. Specifically, when it comes to pump shotguns, they stand out significantly. They currently account for over 26% of all eliminations in default playlists, with the next weapon type not even coming close. Rather than nerfing the pump shotgun to a point where it no longer lives up to its fantasy, our preference is to return it to the vault, giving us an opportunity to revisit the general balance of the item while introducing a new shotgun. Our goal with the combat shotgun is to provide an item that fills a similar niche, but with a different risk and reward. We're excited to see how all of you use the new shotgun and look forward to your feedback on this shift." So, according to Epic, the pump accounted for 26% of all eliminations, which is a pretty significant percentage, I must say. They also say that they want to try and spice things up each season by changing up the map and loot pool and just making Fortnite feel different overall. I'm not sure about you guys, but I definitely think that they achieved that with Season 9. Neo-Tilted, Mega Mall, and the slipstreams honestly make Fortnite feel pretty fun and fresh. Whether it's balanced or not and good from a competitive standpoint, that's obviously a different story and not Epic's first priority, but Epic really did make this new season feel fresh and just different overall without the pump. The question arises though of whether it's a good change or not. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's necessarily good and that everyone will like it. I think it goes without saying how much of a staple the pump was in Fortnite. Obviously, building is what makes Fortnite so unique and the biggest reason why we all play it instead of something like Apex Legends or PUBG. What makes build fights so fun and enjoyable is the high risk, high reward nature to them. Battling for high ground, taking quick shots, exposing yourself to get a shot off. All of this was fun because of the huge damage potential of the pump. There's no fun in easily taking high ground if there's no risk to it, because getting hit for 10 damage by the combat or the tac shotgun isn't really a risk. The pump was the only weapon in the game other than snipers that was capable of one-shotting an opponent. This meant during build fights or fights in general, any mistake you made or an opponent would make would be capitalized upon by the pump's damage. As much as everyone complained about only hitting someone for 80 or 90 damage with the pump, it was much more fair and rewarding than using the combat shotgun now and doing 30 damage. Admittedly, the pump was never a perfect weapon, but it did have some drawbacks that made it pretty balanced. It was single fire and had a very slow draw speed, so you really had to play around its strengths and build in between shots. If you had 10 health in a crazy fight, you still had the opportunity to one pump someone in the mouth and come out on top of the engagement. This made the pump the perfect complement to building and was one of the most skillful mechanics in the game. What the pump also did, which we're missing a lot in the current meta, is that it could beat spray and pray tactics. The pump alone promoted and allowed for advanced building to evolve, and without the pump in the game like right now, we're seeing the exact opposite. Now, it's much easier to hold down your trigger button with a drum gun and spray someone to death than it is to build fight and kill someone with a tac or a combat shotgun. The pump forced people to move and actually think about how they would play in a build fight instead of just brainlessly spraying without a thought in the world. The current meta of drum guns and underpowered shotguns actually punishes build fights. There's no need to go for skillful high ground retakes or to take risks because any shot you take on an opponent will do little to no damage and your opponent will just box up. Box fights also used to require outplaying and outsmarting your opponent with the pump. If you weren't careful when trying to replace someone's wall, you risk getting pumped in the face, and if they made a bad edit, they could also pay the price. There's no point in going for quick edits in outplays, because with the current shotguns, you'll be lucky to do 20 damage. Box fighting in the current meta is basically people spraying Tommy guns at each other, or there's just no box fighting at all, and people just sit in their 1x1s and turtles all game. There's no chance that you get someone out of their 1x1 right now, because you don't have a pump anymore, so there's no point in trying to, because people will just sit in their 1x1 all game. Epic obviously thought that the pump was too strong and versatile because it accounted for 26% of all eliminations, but you have to ask, is it because the pump itself is too strong or just because the way Fortnite and build fights play out? Building allows anyone to quickly close gaps on their opponents, and build fights basically force a majority of your engagements to be close quarters. Because an overwhelming majority of fights are close quarter combat, it makes sense that the pump accounts for 26% of eliminations. I'm honestly surprised it's not more. Think about all of your fights and kills last season. Sometimes you get a nice snipe on someone or laser them with your AR, or you got a quick SMG kill, but I feel like more than half of my eliminations were with a pump shotgun. I do agree that the pump may have been too versatile because it was better than the tac in basically every way. Now with the combat and the tac, even though they're very weak, they're both good in different situations. The problem is that the drum gun is in the game and that it's better than both the tac and the combat from up close. I really want to know what percentage of eliminations the drum gun currently accounts for because I can almost guarantee that it's higher than the pump ever was. Every time I get killed from someone this season, it's basically them spraying me to death after they miss their combat shotgun shot. If you watched the World Cup qualifiers this weekend, you probably noticed that everyone was carrying at least one drum gun. You're probably asking to yourself though, why would Epic prefer this brain dead and skillless meta of spraying drum guns over skilled build fights? One theory I saw from Reddit was that Epic wants their game to be played in a certain way, and they now know how to enforce it. Epic basically wants Fortnite to be a shooter with building as a supplementary device to make the game unique. Everyone who currently plays Fortnite knows that building isn't a supplementary device, it's the main mechanic that makes the game unique. Fortnite is more of a building game than a shooter because its shooting mechanics are trash. There's literally RNG in your shots hitting with Bloom. If people wanted to play a good shooter, they'd play CSGO. Fortnite would be the last shooter game anyone would play without building, trust me. What happened as Fortnite grew in popularity and people started becoming better at it was that its gameplay changed as well. Back in the beginning of Fortnite, people would occasionally build, but there were no build fights or anything close to what we have today. Epic envisioned Fortnite as a shooter where you could build a ramp to get on top of a building, or you could build a box around yourself to pick up a teammate. They never envisioned people doing build fights, or 90s, or any of these advanced building techniques that we use today. The meta for the past few seasons has basically been to build at someone, take high ground during a build fight, then hit them with a shotgun shot, and finish them off with SMG spray. Since Bloom makes your assault rifles and SMGs very inaccurate at times, the best way to eliminate this RNG is with your shotgun. How do you get close to people with your shotgun? Well, you close the distance by building towards them. Epic doesn't really like this playstyle and people playing the game this way, and while they could make it into an amazing and skillful esport that's fun for both competitive and casual players, they want it to fit their mold for what Fortnite should be. In the past, they've consistently tried to nerf building and shotguns. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but they literally made splash damage from explosives do damage through builds, and a few seasons ago, pump shotguns were so weak that they did like 20 damage headshots. Obviously, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. This season, by vaulting the pump, they're trying to forcibly end the shotgun meta. Given what their goal is for the game, they probably should have vaulted it earlier. They want Little Jimmy to be able to kill a good player. With a pump and building in the game, Little Jimmy will die 90% of the time to a good player, but with drum guns in the game, no pump, and 2 weak shotguns, Little Jimmy is having a field day just mowing down good players with his 50 bullet round clip. This is similar to the second theory of why Epic vaulted the pump. If you guys remember last year, Season 5 was in the drum gun and the double barrel shotgun meta was at its peak. Later that season, they added the P90, which was also insanely overpowered when it was first introduced. Season 5 took place during the summer when everyone, including Little Jimmy and his brother Little Timmy, were out of school. With all Little Jimmys and Little Timmys out of school and playing Fortnite, Epic wanted to create a very casual, friendly, and non-skill based meta. The exact same meta that we saw back then with the drum gun and spray weapons and then weak shotguns like when they nerfed the pump is what we're seeing today. At the end of Season 5, when Little Jimmy went back to school, Epic removed everything and started catering towards good players again. Now it's Season 9 and they vaulted the pump, they introduced a really weak combat shotgun and unvaulted the drum gun. It sounds basically exactly like it was during Season 5. It's also the middle of May, which is right before the summer, and this season will last through a majority of the summer. The slipstream system is also really reminiscent of the rifts that were added to the game during Season 5, which allowed for easy rotations and third partying. Overall, I'm not sure about you guys, but without the pump in the game, build fights and basically everything just doesn't feel rewarding anymore. Obviously, we're going to have to get used to it because what other choice do we have? The heavy shotgun has been rumored to come back, which does give me hope because I really did like that weapon and it felt more like an actual shotgun than the tac and the combat currently do. Epic's whole reasoning for vaulting the pump just seems really disingenuous overall though. They say the pump is too strong and that it accounts for 26% of all eliminations, but then they decide to add the drum gun. Yes, technically the community unvaulted it and voted for it, but why even make that an option? It was vaulted for being overpowered in the first place, so you're really gonna bring it back without changing it at all? They literally didn't nerf it one bit. Did everyone just suddenly forget how busted it was? I truly think the reason they vaulted the pump is to cater to Little Timmy and make the game easier for him. It's near the summer, so Little Jimmy will be playing more and spending more V-Bucks, and with a drum gun in his hands, there's nothing stopping him from spraying a good player to death. Epic just really doesn't care about a skill gap or making this game competitive, so I guess we just gotta suck it up and hope they vault the drum gun for Season 10. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications. Leave a comment of whether you think I'm right or wrong, and let me hear what you guys have to say. Lastly, thank you to everyone using my code. I truly appreciate all the support so far. I'll be moving home from college soon after I figure out some stuff regarding my living situation, but I'll then be able to upload a ton more, and I'll be streaming every day on Twitch. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.